Welcome to the Higher Ed Demand Gen podcast, helping higher education marketing leaders share knowledge about learning, strategies, and tactics that are relevant today. See what you can learn today by listening to one of our episodes.
Welcome to the Higher Ed Demand Gen podcast, hosted by Concept 3D. On this podcast, we like to discuss topics around creating and capturing demand in higher education. Before we jump into the podcast, I just want to do a quick intro with Concept 3D. Concept 3D has served the higher education community for over a decade with their award-winning interactive maps, virtual tours, and recently, event calendaring. Improve your campus communications, student engagement, and recruitment with our powerful location-based virtual solutions. My name is Shiro, and I will be your host today. When it comes to creating demand, it's more important than ever to really understand how you're talking about ROI, how you're talking about social capital access. And that is why today I'm super, super excited to have Vanessa Bush join us. Vanessa is the Director of University Partnerships at PeopleGrove. Vanessa, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Shiro.
And before we jump into the topic, do you want to start us off with one fun fact and where you're dialing in from today?
Sure. I'm dialing in from Boston. Live just a little south of Boston, actually. And fun fact, let's see. I'm an avid traveler. I've been to a lot of countries, mostly in the European Union. I'm a mom to two little boys, and I'm actually a poet as well. So I've written and composed some poems in my time, even had a couple of them published.
That's amazing. I did not know that last part.
Yeah, that one tends to shock people. They're like, wow, really?
Yeah. Are they available online as well?
They are, yeah. Probably
That's
under
awesome.
my former name. So before I got married, my name is Vanessa Williams. So another fun fact is that I had a famous name. So
That's amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we can give a shout out to you at the end there where people can find your poems.
Sure.
Great. Awesome. Well, I know last time we talked about ROI and focusing on social capital access. Can you describe a little bit more on how and why higher educations have a great opportunity to really focus in on this topic?
Yeah, absolutely. So social capital, and not everyone might recognize that term, so let me define that for the audience. So social capital, at least from my perspective, really means harnessing the power of the community and your networks to really grow your net worth, using your network to grow your net worth, if you will. And really it's harnessing, again, the power of those connections and those people to help elevate the conversations for yourself, to open doors to opportunities, and just to meet people. So it's harnessing all that energy. And something that I used to work in higher education, so I just want to let everybody know that. I was in enrollment management for about 10 years prior to coming to PeopleGrove. So I do come with some, certainly with some experience and perspective there. And really it's harnessing and tapping into, the connections, the knowledge, and really the people that we're all connected to. And I don't feel that enough colleges and universities are really tapping into that resource as much as they should.
Gotcha. What do you think are some of the things that career services, at higher education institutions could really be doing to elevate that and focus on social capital access?
Yeah. So I think we've talked about this before, right? Where, when we think of career services, we think of these like offices in the basement, right, of an old building on campus. I was in a conversation with someone at a college in Pennsylvania, and he said, yeah, I'm trying to, really elevate us a little bit more and get us out there and recognize as not just that like 90s like dentist office vibe, right? And I chuckled and laughed because I kind of knew exactly what he was talking about. It's these basement level, really, hidden alcove area where the career office exists. And so often now, higher ed is being looked at in terms of return on investment, right? How do we guarantee and make sure that students are earning good jobs, not just even good jobs, but a good path, an avenue to creating really wealth for themselves. So, how do we do that better? I think first of all, it comes with elevating that office. We need to get it, out of the basement is step one. And, recognizing that there's it's everyone's job at a college or university. Everyone should be invested in career services because, and it shouldn't just be that office that's concerned with that, right? Because ultimately, careers mean you're recruiting new students. The word gets out that you get a good job and you have that power of that network to help, navigate to that next professional step with you. For your lifetime. And that can mean new recruitment of students, right? It could mean retaining the students that are there and thinking about potentially leaving or transferring. It's having those connections, and that's tied very much to social capital. Creating new revenue streams for the university or the college, and just protecting the institution's reputation. So it really comes down to what I call these 4 R's, recruitment, retention, revenue, and reputation. It has a lot to do with social capital. It really hinges on it.
Right. And I'm looking at this from a marketing lens. I know you worked in enrollment for a long part of your career, which is really focused, at the top of the funnel or the start of a customer life cycle, if I'm really speaking marketing terms. But, this approach, really, you're investing at kind of the customer, they're already customer, they're paid, and you're investing into the life cycle after they've already been in your business, right?
Right.
And it's a different approach to just throwing all your money and investment at the very front, but also, investing on the entire life cycle of the customer. Is that kind of like the right way to look at this from a business model approach?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's, oftentimes we think that, once a student is in the door, so to speak, right, like we can kind of like set it and forget it, right? They're there and now is academic affairs problem, like whatever. It's not, right? It's a university problem. So we need to really think about other ways to capture the interest, engage students throughout their entire life cycle, right? As a student, and we're hearing this term now more of lifelong learning. I heard it at my prior institution at Northeastern in Boston, where I was before PeopleGrove. And, it's something we thought about all the time. How can we make sure we're always learning and always iterating and learning new things? But really, it's providing those resources for a lifetime. And, alumni play a big part of that as well. Oftentimes we think, students and alumni, well, what do they have to do with each other? They have everything to do with each other, right? They're not 2 very different constituencies. Students ultimately become alums, right? And alums were former students, so they're very much tied to one another. Students can learn from alumni, learn about opportunities or get advice or tips and tricks of the trade, or I'm wondering how to create a resume, or I'm looking at your role here and your career pivot and very interested in how you did that. Can you talk to me about it? I was this similar major, what did you do with that after you graduated? So there's so many ways that career offices, I think, can really tap into the power of alumni to bring those conversations to life and really boost student social capital.
Got it. And, I'm again thinking this from a business lens. How do you get the alumni to commit their time and involvement in working with career services? Like, it might be a very tactical question, but that's kind of where I jump in directly.
No, it's a good one, right? Because you think, well, like, who's going to want to sign up for this? And what is what's the time commitment? We're all busy. We've got jobs, families, et cetera, right? I myself am very strapped for time, but I'm on, so PeopleGrove, to give the audience sort of a sense of what we do. We're a career access platform and really harnessing, again, the energy and the power of that social capital network in a very warm, friendly, intentional way, and tailor the experiences accordingly. So whether it's sharing job opportunities or mentorship opportunities or, just career path information and resources, it's there for the taking. And it's tapping into that, knowing that everyone is very much engaged and raising their hand to say, I want to help. So when you say, what alums are going to help, it's thinking about, well, gone are the days where we wanted wine and cheese or a tailgate. We could always do those things, right? But we're asking oftentimes, in my conversations with university leaders, they're saying, well, they don't really want those things anymore. They're looking for a purpose. They're looking to give back and share their experiences, and they want to do these things, right? They're looking for other ways to engage with the student community. That's oftentimes what they find as the number one thing they're requesting on alumni surveys, which is just very interesting. But I agree. It's tough and tricky to sort of guarantee, if you will, that they're going to talk to students, but it's at their leisure, right? They can be as involved as they want. So there's different levels of that, of engagement. So they can have conversations every week, every day if they want, or they could do once a month. On our platform, you can actually toggle between how often and how much you want to be contacted and how many people you want to be paired with for a mentorship experience and things like that, so that you can essentially control that piece of it.
Got it. And can you explain me a little bit more about PeopleGrove? So the customers or the users of the platform are both alumni and students, or okay?
Correct. Right. So, when they sign up, they're again, it's a career access platform. And so what I mean by that, let me define that a little bit more. It's not just like a mentorship platform. It's not just, an alumni engagement platform. It's those things and more. It's really just harnessing, like I said, the energy of the social capital that network inherently provides, and using alums to give back to students and share their experiences, their advice, and their help, right? Or point them to an opportunity. And sometimes it's not about the what it's the who and it's the intersection of those two things wherein lies opportunity. So we're trying to just elevate, again, career services out of the basement, virtually at scale, to make sure that colleges and universities are utilizing this in the best way. Again, also recognizing that staff is limited. The Great Resignation is hitting higher education hard. A lot of people have left, myself included. Right. And it's something that while you may not be able to stop that, this tool and this resource can really help that, because there's not a whole lot that staff and administrators have to do on the platform. They don't have to be in it every day, right? Like, that's our job. And that's something that is really important to understand too. It's, we help evangelize across the community with you. We're partners.
So if you're a small career services team and, let's say you recently lost some members, like, it's a way to mitigate some of that help that you don't have the hands to do right now. Exactly.
Because I'll hear, well, I have this student coming to ask me about this. I need to pair them with someone, and now I need to go talk to the alumni office and pair them with the mentor. And that can take, days, weeks, sometimes months. And how do you do it? And what does success look like? And how do we measure the ROI? That's all built into the platform, which really can help, again, these administrators just get on with their day and do what they're supposed to be doing.
And I just came back to an earlier thought about how you mentioned, alumni answered number one on their surveys. They want to make an impact. They want to help mentor some of the students right now. I've never gotten a call from my alma mater saying, like, hey, do you want to, give some tips and advice to your, current CU students? It's always just for asking money. And I almost always hang the phone up or just try to be as polite as possible. But if they ask that question, I'm much more likely to continue the conversation. And so, I was just trying to think about that through my lens personally. I'm like, I would definitely much more likely continue the conversation, at least if they were asking for a little bit more time to help someone else out, as opposed to just donate money.
Exactly. You can't. So it's why people donate to certain charities, right? That they're involved in, right? Because they believe in it. They see the value and the impact that it's making. And on our network, alums usually give back to their alma mater at a 3 times more higher rate than the average alum, because again, they're more tied to it. They can recognize that the opportunities that are, that they're giving students, or the information that's shared across the platform, or if you're an alum and you're a career changer, you have an opportunity to also get some knowledge and understand other sectors, other positions and roles that maybe you didn't know about from others that have been there before you. And so it's, when you put that into the equation, then you get that email, that tailored, nice little email, right, from the alumni or advancement office saying, would you like to donate? And they're 3 times more likely to do so because of that.
Gotcha. And going back a little bit more to the connecting the dot, or making stronger connections between career services and alumni departments, what are some of the business outcomes that you see from, this done really well from different schools?
Yeah. Job opportunities, definitely number one. When they work together, a lot of times, almost up to, I believe it's 80% of jobs are found through networking. And so what better way, for a college or university to boost their, employability numbers, right, with graduates, and saying that they got an opportunity because they connected with an alum on the network.
Is that something that historically institutions even publish, like employability percentages or numbers?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So like
Okay.
first, they call them like first destination surveys. So they'll survey, their recent grads within usually 6 months to a year, and will, report out the percentage of students that either have, already have a job, or go back to school or involved in another organization. And so, a way to boost that, right, is through, these networks, right? And
Right.
harnessing again that power of social capital to help others just really figure out what their next step is instead of going on, LinkedIn or Facebook or Google. It's really pulling all those things together, but elevating that at a higher level and again at scale. So you can connect and engage with people that are here to help, or you can give back to those that really need it.
Does it also help, let's say before graduation, does it also help in the student life cycle there? Like,
Oh, for sure.
thinking maybe retention is a big
Of
one, a
course.
part of your 4 Rs, right? Like they maybe see the light at the end of the tunnel as opposed to being, a little lost or alone.
Right. Absolutely, especially with first gen learners, with we call it a FGLI, so first gen low income student population. On our platform, they're usually 2.8 times more likely to say, that the connections and the people that they made connections with on the platform led to a job or an opportunity or an internship. And so in that regard, it does help with retention, right? Because those who are struggling to connect with someone, or
Right.
they don't have that inherent network. They didn't grow up with parents who were doctors or lawyers, right? They need a community of people that are in their corner behind them, rooting for them, and are there to help, give back and showcase that help and point them in their next direction. And so they would be then more likely to stay, right? If they had those opportunities in front of them, right? So again, engaging with the career services team, more often and even earlier on in the student life cycle is crucial to getting them to retain, to stay. And revenue channels, it helps the college or university. Happy alums are more likely to give back to the alma mater, right? So that's
Right.
another revenue channel. It obviously has everything to do with the institution's reputation. If people aren't happy, if they're not seeing the return on investment of their degree program, they're not going to go. More students aren't going to go, right? So then it becomes an enrollment problem. So, and then that's recruitment, right? So it really
Yep,
does
right
tap
back
into
to the
these-
start.
It is. It's that virtuous cycle of higher ed, right? So happy
Right.
alums breed happy students who then become happy alums, et cetera. So it just keeps on going. So it's super important to realize that, again, career services is really everyone's problem. It's not just relegated to that basement office.
Got it. I love how you keep pointing back to that, which is where my image of the career services is today. And
Yeah.
I don't think you're wrong.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much for your insight and knowledge shared today. I was wondering where our listeners could connect with you. Maybe
Yeah.
also share your poems as well.
Well, for the poems, you can just type in my former name, so Vanessa Williams, and you can write poetry. And I'm sure, some things will find. They're published in different areas and different organizations.
Okay.
So you can certainly find me that way. Or I'm happy to point you in that direction too if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn. There's a couple of Vanessa Bushes, I believe, out there, but the one that has an MED, so the Master of Education, the letters at the end of my name, that's me. Lifelong learner, education enthusiast for sure. I don't think that the value of higher ed is still very strong. And again, it's through the power of that. I think that's, that social network, that social capital, where I think we can take the next steps here.
Thank you so much. And to our listeners, join us on the next one. Thank you so much, Vanessa. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Shiro.